We have here Brooke. She is a content creator and writer in the motherhood and wellness space, and we are so happy to have her here on Mom Life Unfiltered. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be here, and welcome to the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to just have this conversation because we need it.
We do. We do. We do need it. We do need it. So Tell me if you have any time blocking tips, juggling the work, the children, the hubby, please share.
Time blocking. Yes. I feel like time blocking is this thing that the internet introduced to moms, and they're like, it's the thing that's going to solve all your problems. And then what kind of happens is it creates these new problems because you're like, I got to get all the stuff done in between the blocks that I like set up for them.
It sounds like it sets you up for disappointment and failure. Right?
That. And that's why I'm like, is it? But so my sister-in-law, she's a self-care coach for moms, and she gave me a really cool way to look at it. She said, instead of doing time blocks, why don't you like have that time set aside, but like have it as like a flow or like a rhythm, and just like have your daily rhythm, and whatever happens, whatever you can get done, it gets done. But instead of having like a list, have like a category. And then you like can flow through it in a different way. Because when you have these lists and these deadlines that you try to get through in the time blocking, I feel like, yes, as Corinna said, it leads to disaster and disappointment.
Yeah.
So
it's like a really good tip.
It's a flow. So I do the time blocking, but it's more of like, I have my ideas. So it's like I wake up and I know between like 7 to 10, I'm going to drop the kids off at school and get myself together for the day. I'm going to read something and write something. Who knows like how that's going to happen, what it's going to be, but it's going to happen. Afternoon is for like work, because that's when my brain is working. And then like around 2:00, between 2 and like 6, that's when all the fun happens.
Yeah.
Pick up, I got to pick the kids up and got to do all the things.
But that works for you. I mean, it's great that it works. It sounds like it works for you. You know, it might not work for someone else. It's like, you know, everybody keeps telling me you got to do to-do lists. And I'm like, I know. I just can't work with to-do. I don't know. I feel like the time where I'm writing it down is like already not wasted, but it's like, I'd rather do it instead of writing it down. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it doesn't make any sense for a lot of people, I know, but it's like just as
I have a question. So when you clean up or tidy up, are you like in your home, are you a put it down person or a put it away person?
Put it
like,
away.
Are you like okay, so then maybe to-do list could work for you if you do it, like if you prioritize if you do it in a different way. So
I tried it.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. Maybe I didn't try it long enough. Maybe.
So where are you, I'm curious. So where are you keeping your to-do lists?
In my head.
Oh, girl.
No.
Malliha
First
is
of
like,
all, that's
I know.
I know. That's the first
insane.
no.
It's insane. I keep it in my head. And then I can probably do that for like 5 more years. And then my brain is like too old to just handle it.
You're setting yourself up for...
No, well, what I was thinking is that sometimes we make these to-do lists and we don't realize that all the things on the list don't maybe have to get done today or even tomorrow, or maybe it looks like a to-do list for the day and maybe it's for the week or the month. But like we're moms, so it's like, because for me, like literally this morning, actually, I was like, I got to do this thing. I got to get costumes. And some of these things, like, I don't need to do until February.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm about to do them today because it's easy and I can just like jump online and order that thing and it'll be here. But it's like, oh, wait, there's laundry everywhere. And so I think a lot of the times the reason that to-do lists don't work for moms is because we have so much on our plate already. And when we put it out in front of us, it is like hell trying to prioritize it. And then once you prioritize it, I think you bite off more than you can chew. It's like, all right, I got my 5 priorities for today. Sis, you probably will only get 1 or 2 of those done.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like it's like to-do list, until you get down to like 1 or 2 things. And then maybe you set yourself up to make you feel like you're crushing it.
I love that. Let's talk a bit about self-love, because I saw on your page that you've shared some really great things about self-love. So how has your practice with self-love kind of like flowed into and shaped motherhood?
I will say that the self-love that I had before I had kids was kind of like self-love light, like LITE. It was like, I understood myself, I loved myself, but it was that version of myself. And maybe it was like kind of easier because I didn't have a bunch of responsibilities and I wasn't healing and I wasn't, and then once I became a mom, I was like, oh, I got to dig deep. And I got to like really learn how to love not just Brooke, as I like saw myself, but like as like the way a mother loves a child, and for all of me, not just the accomplished version of me or, all those things. It was like, I have to love myself, and even the things I don't like about myself, I'll have to learn how to love myself in that way so that I can be compassionate and so that I can encourage myself to grow. And so I would say that motherhood really turned on a light in terms of how I learned how to care for myself and love myself. And I also understand that now, if I don't have that and if I'm not doing that first, like loving myself first, then it is really hard to extend compassion and all the things that I need to my kids, because they become just like, if I'm frustrated with myself and my daughter comes in and she's just like looking like me and acting like me, I'm like, oh, the triggers are going
all she's doing is existing. All she's doing is existing. And you're like,
and I'm like,
I think you said the only if. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like loving yourself only if you've done this amount of work, or only if you've. Could you speak on that? Because I think that, like, personally, I have fallen into that. Like, oh, I'm going to love myself only if I'm making X amount of money. Gonna love and I don't even realize that I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until you're like, wait, I'm doing that.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like we fall into these worthiness traps, is I think what Brene Brown called them. When you set up all these things for you to like, it's like, if only I am all of these things, then am I worthy of love? And I feel like that just kind of, you're putting a wall up, you're creating a boundary, you're making it difficult for you to love yourself, you're making yourself difficult to love. And that's, I think, all based out of like some sort of fear. Because what happens if you just love yourself as you are? What happens? What happens? Oh, damn. Like, it's okay to be this way. I'm not a project that has to be fixed. I am worthy just as I am, It's a weird thing. It's like we're not raised up and trained to just think that way.
Exactly. And I feel like, it's, you say it, oh yeah, just try to love yourself. It's, as you said, it's like so much hard work. Like I'm definitely not there. And I feel like if you weren't brought up that way, like how and when do you even make the switch? Like, how did you get there to truly love yourself? You know what I mean? Like,
so is that something you're working on, you said?
Well, everything you guys said in the last 5 minutes, I feel like that probably happens subconsciously, right? Because I don't consciously tell myself only if I this or that, then I love myself.
No, it's we do. The way that it happens is like, we don't say these things. It's not verbatim. It's in the way that we walk and move through the day. It's in the way that like, it's in the way that like you choose to throw on just like the, the frumpy t-shirt and throw your hair in a bun, and you tell yourself you're not worthy of putting on lipstick or, whatever today, because, it's like it's the silent messaging that you're giving yourself. And it's based on how we really feel about ourselves internally at our deepest levels. And we haven't kind of sat down with that and had a conversation with it and find out where it comes from. because only after you find out where it comes from, then can you start to be honest with yourself and learn how to love yourself, learn how you need to be loved.
Right.
So for example, if it's like you don't feel worthy because maybe you don't have parents who poured into you and told you you were worthy. Well, once you find out like, hey, that's why I don't think I'm worthy. I'm still living in the space of being like this little girl who feels like she's not worthy of these things. And after you sit down and have these conversations with yourself, as odd as it sounds, and you remind yourself like, hey, we don't live there anymore. We're not, that like 8-year-old who, feels like crap because maybe they're not being acknowledged in the way that they should be. Let's be in the present. Let's like, who loves me right here? And how can I love myself right here? And how can I bring that 8-year-old kid along with me on this journey to show them too, that like, hey, we're worthy of like all these things in our lives, and not just material things, but like the good things that happen, emotionally, and the connections we have and the relationships we have. And it took me years. I started my self-care and love journey probably around 27. So that's just about a decade.
If you have had, like Corinna said, and I can relate to this, a very tumultuous relationship with your parents or your mother, for example, and I'll share this. I've always said to myself, I'm not having children because, one, I've never felt like, I've wanted children, but I think one of the biggest reasons subconsciously has always been because I don't ever want to mess a child up. My childhood was very intense and rough. And I said to myself, I think that I could possibly put that into my child. Right. And so I've always just been like, no, I don't want a child. I don't need a child. And I'm good mothering businesses, mothering my friends, being the mother of the world. Right. Which is a big task in itself also. But it's just like, how do you get through that? How has your child, I guess, helped you heal that if you've had a very rough relationship with your parents or your mother?
That's for me, or you want to?
No, thank you for sharing that,
Malliha.
Yeah. And I think
we talked about this
before Brooke responds, because I cannot respond to that because I'm not there. But I think, and some might hate me for saying this, but I think it's very responsible of you to do that.
Thank you. No,
because
you have to make the choice.
I feel this so much, like you have so much responsibility raising that little human. And sometimes I feel like that too. Like, I mean, I wouldn't want to trade my kids for anything, obviously. But, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like, who gave you, like, what, what I mean? Like, I feel like I can't
I understand
say this,
where
but
you're
it is unfiltered. But I feel, I'm a loving mom, of course, but sometimes I'm like, I cannot raise these kids. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And what if I screw them up? And there's like, there comes this guilt, and you know what I mean? So I think, I don't want to go deeper into this, but Malliha probably would say do it, but but I think it's so responsible of you to do that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where now in my life I have considered children now, because I've done
a lot of work.
It's been a lot of therapy.
Yeah.
A lot of yoga. A lot of what are all the things we tap? We do somatic movements. We meditate. We try to do all the things, right? And sometimes all the things just bring you back to, and I'm still fucked up. But you're able to look at it and deal with it in a different way. Yes. And it's not, you're not in this reactionary zone with everything in your life where every trigger that comes up, you're just fully reacting full blown. So now I'm at a different place where I'm like, could I have a child? You know, it's taken a long time. I'm damn near 40. So it's like, you should make up your mind, Malliha, because the clock is ticking. So yes, Brooke is like,
sorry, Brooke.
So I feel like, it's all good. I'm excited because this is one of the things that I actually like to talk about, because that was me. I would be like, I'm not having kids. Like, everybody knew me. Like, in my 20s, I was a model. I lived in New York, and I was just like, this is what I do. This will be my life. Just like being on set and like whatever. And when my family members would ask, like, when are you having a kid? I'd be like, I don't want kids. Lying to myself, knowing that I wanted to have kids. I just didn't know how I was going to go from who I was at that point, like a version of myself that I was afraid of based on everything that I've been through, into being like the mom that I wanted to be, the mom that I thought I was supposed to be. And I would say, like, first of all, we have these ideas of what motherhood looks like. And so we think, like, you know, in the same way that I said, okay, I don't want to mess up a kid. Obviously, none of us want to mess up a kid. But it's also because we're comparing like who we are and who we think we're supposed to be. And then for you, Malliha, when you said you don't want to mess up a kid and you're worried about that and you're doing the work, that is like the first step. You are like cognizant and you are like self-aware. And so it's not that we need to show up and be perfect and not do all of the things and not be a human who has been through things and has, you know, had like, I had a hard childhood, and I understand that. And so it's like those things come up literally every day. But because you're doing the work, you are learning how to process through this stuff in real time. And the gift that you have that maybe our moms did not have because at the time they just couldn't see it or it wasn't something they knew how to practice. You had that self-awareness, but you also have the ability to communicate and to apologize to your child if that kind of stuff happens right there. How much different would our lives be if after, like, you know, a parent screamed at us or like whatever happened, if they stopped, they got down on their knees so that their eyes were at our level, and they said to us, hey, I just had some feelings that maybe I shouldn't have had in front of you, or I just said some things that maybe I shouldn't have said in front of you. I'm sorry that you had to see that, and I apologize for how that made you feel. And then not just doing that, but then then the parent would go get up and like do better or make different choices the next day. That is the difference, I think. That's what you and I have, because it's like, you're aware now and you know what you don't want to do. So instead of like holding up and being afraid and holding on to this fear of what you don't want to do, and I'm just going to avoid the thing altogether, jump in with both feet and know that you have the gift of awareness. You know, your age is, stop with the age thing. I have a sister-in-law. She just finished her babies and she's like in her mid 40s. I think her youngest is 3. She didn't start until she was like 36, 37. So it's possible. I did some reading on this thing called mother wounds. And one of the ways that I was able to kind of process through things before I had my daughter was talking to my therapist and processing through my mother wounds. And a lot of it looked like, here's the list of things that I'm afraid that I'm going to be like or do or whatever, because this is what I experienced as a child. This is like who I want to be as a mom. And how do I get from understanding? Because the other thing I think is that we think we have to go from here to here. And it's not that. We have to understand that we never were any of these things. That's and the reason it's a mother wound is it's like we are carrying and we are wounded by the thing that our mother or our parent did. That's not our truth, and that's not our reality, and that's not who we are as parents.
Right.
And so you move from, you know, that's not true. And then also looking at, this is the mom that I am supposed to be on paper, because this is what I want to do, and I want to take them to the play dates and do this and that. And it's like, hold up, that list is not. And then you meet yourself in the middle, and it's like, holy shit. The only thing that I have to do to be a good mom to the humans that I take care of is to be myself, to be a good person, to be accountable, and hold space for them and respect them. Mm-hmm. The end.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Malliha, go and make some babies. But I want to say to that, like last night, for example, because I feel like when you're in that moment with your kids, like last night, for instance, I was going to say shit comes up, and you don't have any control over it. You don't have any control over it. Last night, it wasn't bad, but I was putting my kids to bed and they just couldn't stop goofing around, and like how it is in the evenings, they completely like go nuts. And they were like rolling on top of each other and fighting, and it was like 9:30 or something. Today was Friday. It was like a school night, and I just got so impatient, and I was in the middle of it, and I know that if I would have watched other kids, not my own kids, doing this, I would have had the perfect answer, the perfect solution. I was just lying there being paralyzed. I just called, Ben! And like, he had to come in because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, you have to help me. I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like, I was a child in that moment.
Yeah.
It was like something triggered me where I was like, I started fighting with them, against them. Like, I just wasn't myself. And that's what I'm saying. Like, shit comes up when you're in the midst of it. And so
that's so true, Corinna. Like, and thank you for sharing that. And I'll think about the babies thing. That leads me to my next question. Is something we've talked about in past podcasts of just like, how are you teaching your children how to move through feelings, whether they're really big feelings or minimal, like, because that is a big deal.
Girl.
The eye roll.
Because my daughter's name is Freedom. And
Freedom.
She lives up to her name. Freedom of expression, freedom of motion, freedom of emotions. Everything is big with her. Everything. And it was hard for me to kind of understand and follow along and like study and learn her to like be her mom, because I was such a quiet, shy kid. And
this is good that you're talking about this. Thank you. Because
and like you said, you kind of revert back to childhood sometimes. And so when she would like have her big feelings, positive or negative, they're just huge. Me, inner child, I'd be like, what's going on? How do I respond to this person? I would just kind of like not know what to do. I would stall up. And in the early days, I would cry and I would just like hand her to my husband and like walk away. Like, can you please just, and, after all the things that we have to do, therapies, talking to friends, going to, or like, podcasts or whatever, reading. I realized I had to like dig deep. I'm like, all right, what is this really? I'm afraid of her emotions. I'm afraid of how big they are, because why was I shy? Oh, I was shy because I had people in my home who had very big emotions. And the way that I was able to like exist and be safe and happy was to be quiet, to mind my business.
Wow.
And I didn't really want to jump. I didn't really like to be present or jump into the emotions or whatever was happening with the big emotions, because then I wouldn't be safe. I could possibly get hurt. And so when I look at my daughter, I'm like, well, obviously you're not here to like hurt me or scare me or any of those things with like your big emotions. And you're looking to me because you literally just don't know how to regulate at this point in your life. So I learned I just had to embrace them. And at first it was just sitting, when she's big and excited and run around the house and like throwing things all over the place. I'm just like, it's just sitting right in the middle of it and being like, this is fine. This is fine, and like, it's like, I don't have to jump in. I don't have to correct her. I don't have to tell her to make it smaller. It's fine. And then when we have the big negative emotions, I literally just go in and I just hold her, and she might push back, and because the thing is, and what I always remember is, this too shall pass. So I'm, physically I'm stronger. Mentally, I have more patience most of the time. So I can hold her until whatever she's going through, that big emotional wave, passes, and she looks up, and I'm like, what was that? I had a polka dot sock and a striped sock, and it just made me upset. Okay. Now we can move on with our day. How are you feeling? Right. I feel much better. All right. Wow. And that's the other thing. It's so wild, because a lot of the feelings of these little kids are like completely irrational and just around the smallest things, because they don't have the mental capacity yet to deal with them. Meanwhile, we're adults with all this past and all this stuff, and they're like little triggers for us. So we're going through it while they're just like, my socks didn't match. So that, yeah.
But that's to me, a perfect example of how your daughter is holding up the mirror, like, to you. Deal with it. Deal with your past. Deal with everything.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like, is the biggest challenge in having kids, like, in general. Like, you have to deal with your inner child. You have to deal with your past in order to raise somehow like decent humans.
Right.
It's like they are born and like prescribed to you to make you evolve.
Exactly.
Like, hello, I am your,
I like that.
Yeah, evolution partner.
Prescribed. I like that.
Yeah.
Like, they are specifically prescribed to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Before I had kids, my sister, she said to me, when you have your kid, you'll see, like, their personality, it just like matches yours perfectly. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be great. And I'm like, I didn't know this is what you meant.
You're like, I didn't think it was gonna look like this.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the messiness of motherhood?
You mean
because it's messy. It's not pretty and tidy, and like, it doesn't have a bow on it, and it's very rewarding. But
so I'm very type A, and tidiness and a clean Zen environment is like what I'm all about. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel safe. But I felt like God knew I needed a change. And so I ended up with my husband and then my kids. So my husband, he likes to dress. He has suits and all these things. So I feel like before I had kids, I was like, getting trained on having kids, with him. Because it was that whole,
that's
like,
great.
well, and that's,
I love that.
But also like, because I needed to learn how to let go. And I needed to understand that, like, I can't find my value or my rest or anything in like a tidy and aesthetically pleasing home. And it was like, yeah, I'm not going to trade like this amazing, like, partner, like my best friend, for a tidy space. I just got to learn.
And some women do.
I know. Yeah. I had to learn how to deal with it. And I also had, and I had to learn how to have conversations about it, and, and to literally sit in it. And so now that I have kids, it's more of a daily, I would say it's like a daily struggle and a daily journey for me in letting go and releasing the illusion of control. No matter how clean my house is, it doesn't make me a better mom. It doesn't matter how many shirts I fold that day. It doesn't, again, it's like connected to all of this deeper stuff. So yeah, like right now, if I were to flip this camera around, my bed is unmade. There are three baskets of laundry that need to be folded. There are probably like a couple of rooms in the house that are clean.
Right.
But one of the things that my mother-in-law shared with me, because she knew early on, she knew who I was marrying. That's her son. But she was like, you have to have a home that is comfortable enough to, like, is clean enough to live in and be comfortable. Your home needs to be clean enough to be comfortable. And I was like, you're right. It doesn't have to be like, you know, because I like spotless. A hotel
Yeah.
spotless.
You're
I
like
live
Marie
in a hotel.
Kondo.
Yes, I like literally. I used to fold the things like that with all of the labels up, so my husband could just like, you know, go through. Yeah,
I'm that person. Yeah, that's me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's learning to sit with it, learning to like to be with the mess. And the other thing is like all these things are, as they say on the internet, proof of a fulfilled and a happy life. Like I wouldn't have all these dirty dishes if I wasn't feeding these two like cute people. You know, I wouldn't have all this laundry, and like, you know, that's something to be grateful for too. I'm washing all this laundry,
that's a good way to look at it.
My kids have the clothes that they need, you know?
Right.
So
just I love that.
Perspective shifts, I guess.
Love it. The reframe is great.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, letting go of control, that's another big thing.
Yeah.
Corinna's a Virgo.
Oh, girl.
And then the camera zooms in on her. She has her iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Corinna's a Virgo. Pan in. Right.
My goodness. So you with the to-do list, and so how do you like navigate the want and need for order?
Well, I would say in some areas I'm not too big into astrology, even though I'm very interested in it, but I haven't really dug in deep yet. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm not like the typical Virgo, and like I don't do a to-do list, but
the control
is big. And I mean, it just starts by my son is 11, you know, and I'm a good cook. So, and I like to cook, but I want to teach my kids to be independent. Like I want all of that, right? But I still put butter on their bread, you know, I still do all these things because I have to be in control of what they eat. And you know what I mean? Like I just, as soon as I hear the pantry opening, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, automatically, like, what are you getting?
Corinna.
That's my space. You don't go in there.
Exactly.
If you want something, you ask me.
And if anyone has any suggestions or recommendations on how I can let go of this, because it drives me nuts. It drives me crazy, not in that moment because I'm obviously doing it, but like just 2 seconds after, I'm like, Jesus.
I'm
like,
the same way.
Chill out.
I'm actually,
like, just chill out.
I'm the same way. And it's something that I do want to actively work on to like let go of. So yes, anyone listening to the podcast,
I have
any tips.
I have a story on that. It just happened last week, 2 weeks ago. So my daughter, she was at night, like she was just like at night giving me the business basically before bedtime, just like yelling, like doing anything she could to like.
You guys are making me afraid of bedtime.
Any parent will tell you it's it's awesome.
Bedtime is rough.
Those out like but it's like she was doing a lot during bedtime, and she was like during the day just like lots of just like combative, just like language and all the things. And so I reached out to my sister-in-law because, again, she's like the person who tells me all the things. And she said, well, it seems like there's like a power struggle here. It seems like there's something that you're in control of and she wants more control. So I'm like, all right, well, let me think about it. So I talked to my daughter because although she's 4, she's able to express herself pretty well. And so she said, well, I said, what is it? What's going on with you? She's like, I'm mad because you don't let me pick my clothes. And I'm like, okay. And this has been a struggle. This has been going on since she was 2. We had to like go on Amazon and she has like the bifolding doors on her closet. We had to get these little like slider things that keep the closet from opening, because she would go into her closet and just like pull clothes out, like just looking for things to wear. She would change her, and she was a pandemic baby, so we were home all day. She'd change her outfit like 3 times a day. And so for me, I'm like, I got to control this because you're making more work for me in terms of laundry. Why can't you just put the clothes on that I picked out? Just the shirt, the pant, just put it on.
Right.
And so fast forward to today, I'm like, okay, cool. You want to change, you want to get yourself dressed. Fine. And so it was hard for me to let go, because I had to like do a deep dive and figure out, like we said, the control, it makes us feel safe, and why. Right. And so for me, I realized, well, as a Black woman, as a Black child, when you are raised up, we're kind of told that we got to look presentable when we go out, because you don't want to embarrass your mother or your father, but it's also a way for you to stay safe, because God forbid you don't look like you're together, and then like somebody's going to worry about you, or like, so it's like all of this stuff I didn't realize I was carrying, and I'm like projecting onto, and it, and I'm like, wow, we're safe. She's fine. Like all the things are good. Like we have what we need. Wait, what? And so I kind of backed up, and I was like, you do you, girlfriend, wear whatever you want to wear. And now she does that. And like, her babysitter was here the other day, and she's like, I let her pick out her school clothes for tomorrow. She's wearing a unicorn dress with a green hoodie. She has rainbow pants. I was like, yeah,
I love it.
And she's like, and the babysitter's like, is that okay? Because it doesn't match. I was like, do whatever you want. And I noticed I let go. And then once I let go, it gave her this sense of like control. And so the next thing she said was, hey, Mom, I'm ready to not wear pull-ups to bed anymore. So I'm just not going to do that. And I was like, cool. And then the next day she was like, hey, Mom, so I'd like to make my own schedule in the morning. So I'd like to brush my teeth. I'd like to brush my teeth. Yeah. She's like, I'd like to brush my teeth, pick out a necklace from your bedroom, put my clothes on, and then go to school. And I was like, cool. And I'm like, this is awesome, because I didn't realize with all of my control and all of my stuff that my control came from, that I was blocking so many different parts of you. And it's like, and that's what I mean about like when we work through our stuff, we give our children these gifts. And so now that I've backed up, she's able to breathe, and she doesn't even know that. She just thinks like, look at my life. This feels good. And I'm just like, I'm like, oh, thank God that, I didn't carry this on and continue to do it, because who knew so much was living in that tiny little thing I controlled, that tiny thing.
Right.
That's wonderful.
And freedom's like, I need my wardrobe changes, and I need to be in control over what I wear. I need to brush my teeth first and then go to your jewelry box. Like,
I know what I need.
I'm so glad you're talking about clothes, because just to finish this story, but we had the same struggle. My daughter's 8 now. And I think when she was 3 or 4, probably the same age, I was just like, you know what? The same thing, like 5 changes of 6, 7. She would put all of the clothes on together, and I used to, I had another business. I used to sell vintage clothes that I picked up along our traveling way, which was like, I had the cutest clothes that I wanted her to wear. And she hated it. She hated all the clothes I picked out. And I was like, I need you to wear this. But at some point I was like, I gotta let go. Like, this is a fight I can't win. And for like, why, to all the parents who have little girls, we're in the same struggle, let go of it. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And now she's 8. I mean, I think at some point we agreed on like 3 patterns the most. Like, she can't wear more than 3 patterns.
I love that you two agreed on it. It was a meeting.
It's a meeting. And then it was done. And she picks out her own clothes till today. And I'm not happy about it, but you know, I'm the one who buys the clothes, so I'm not like into a lot of like sequins and, you know, like unicorn. And I know that, you know, sometimes she would come home and be like, Mom, why all of my girlfriends can wear like unicorn sequins shirts, and I'm like the only one who has to wear like blue and white striped long sleeves. So every now and then, like Santa Claus would bring like a unicorn shirt, you know, and she'd wear that every day. But she can just do you, girlfriend. Exactly what you said, Brooke. And it's just a fight you can't win, I think, if you have like those kind of girls.
And I feel like we all have, all the moms listening out there, parents listening, we have a mutual understanding. So if I see you in Target and your kid has on a swimsuit with a puffer coat,
right,
I get it.
Exactly.
I'm in this fight with you. I am not judging.
Yes, I love seeing the children like that because I know they dress themselves. Like, we're all aware.
Right.
Even women who are not moms, we get that child dressed herself. You know what I mean?
Great.
And I love seeing it. I'm seeing rain boots and a tutu with a fire truck hat on because like, it's just, I love it. I'm like, this child is in full expression.
Exactly.
Full expression. Well, we have reached the last question. I don't want to stop.
I know it's good. This
is great,
juicy.
Right? We're like, ooh, it's juicy. So, what advice would you give moms that are stuck on being perfect, or the new moms that feel like they're supposed to be a mom that looks like XYZ?
You know, I can just give an example. So when I had my son, I was 20. I just turned 29, and I mean, that was 11 years ago. I just can't. Like, wow. Okay. So I was 29. I just turned 29, and I remember having a midwife. You know, everybody just kept telling me, you know, like, you got to breastfeed, you have to do it. It's the best. And obviously, like, I knew that was the best thing to do. So I breastfed for 3 months, and then he just wouldn't stop crying. Like, I put him on my breast, and I guess you say you nursed him. I nursed my child. Sorry.
No, like after, like, honestly, it starts to delete. It's like you have this much, it just starts to delete.
No,
like,
I just literally translated from German. That's how you would say it in German. So anyways,
it's great.
Child,
it's great though.
He would just start crying hysterically after like 30 seconds. And I was like, you know, like devastated. I didn't know, like, it must be my fault. Everybody kept telling me, you got to do it. And after like, I think 5 more weeks of trying and not being able to sleep, like, I had a crying baby. I was crying the whole time. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to put me or my child through this anymore. I'm going to went into the store, bought a bottle.
That's right.
And stopped breastfeeding.
And I probably walked into the store with so much urgency and like,
and everything went away.
Yep.
So that's what I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yes.
I love it. And that's how you should leave it.
To piggyback off of that, it's like, you have to do, new moms, do what makes sense for you and what makes sense for your baby. That is it. That's the hack. Like, all of the stuff, you don't have to look like, first of all, Instagram and the internet tells us to be a certain type of mom. And obviously, like, I'm in that space, and I can say that what you see of my life is a snippet of my life. I try to be as authentic and real about what's happening, you know, in my day to day as possible, but you still will not understand all of it until, like, you are a mom. And when you get there, it's like, know that, like, the chaos is normal, that the nobody's kids sleeps, nobody's kids eat, you know, all of the perfect foods all the time. I'm a certified nutritionist, and my kids eat dino nuggets and macaroni and cheese like nobody's business. and all I can do is like supplement it with like nutritional yeast and add Greek yogurt into the mac and cheese, because what are you going to do? But the best you can, like, it's like doing your best is the best you can do. And like, that is it. As long as your child is fed and nurtured and happy, however you got to figure that out, however you do it, that's not just okay. That's great. Because I feel like we're really pressured into thinking that there are only certain ways that we are allowed to exist in motherhood. There are only certain things that we are allowed to do. The whole, like you said, back to breastfeeding, breast is best and you have to. And then even if you do breastfeed, right? Like for me, I breastfed both of my kids up until like a year. A year was my cutoff. It was like either they have teeth or they turn one. I'm out of the game because that's my choice. I get to have choices too. That's the other thing. New moms, don't forget yourself. You don't have to, exist only in service to your baby once that baby's here. Because it's easy to feel like that. A lot of women say, after having the baby, it's like all this attention was on me because I was pregnant. And now nobody asks about me anymore. Make sure that you are making decisions that are good and healthy for your baby, but also serve yourself as well, because you're there, you matter, and like you have to be a full human to like take care of another. But yeah, the breastfeeding, I did that for like a year, and then I said, hey, you know what? This one likes my current, he's 15 months now. He drinks whole milk. I don't care. Like, my first daughter, I was like, she only gets Ripple. She only drinks vegan milk. I'm just like, whatever, as long as they're happy.
Yeah.
Right. And that, I mean, that's it. And other than that, like, there's no hack. There's no code. It's just being yourself, because there's a reason that you have the children that you have. You two are like growth and evolution partners, and y'all are supposed to be in this thing together, and just that's it.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brooke.
Yeah.
Aww.
Wow. It's been such a treat, such a pleasure, such an amazing conversation that I just want it to continue and continue.
I love talking about this stuff.
Thank you for just taking the time out, for being honest, vulnerable, authentic. I love it.
Thank you all for having me and for sharing your stuff too. It's nice to know that we can all connect in different ways. Mommies are not, like, we all share, it's just, that connection is great.